It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
It was the matchup that everybody wanted to see. It is the matchup that did not disappoint. And at the end of the night, Saratoga High School, the kings of Class AA. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. The Blue Streaks take down the Blue Bison. They win Class AA, the Super Bowl last night. Linebacker Eric Stone, Saratoga, after the game.
It's been a while, so it feels good to be on the team and be able to come out here and accomplish this great moment.
That was Eric Stone to News Channel 13 after the game. Blue Streaks over the Blue Bison, 19-14, Class AA champions. What a great weekend this is. Super Bowl weekend, 2 games last night, more today in Class D, in Class B, and in Class A. We're going to break all of it down here at Capital Region Sports Saturday. I'm your host, Brady Farkas. We do this every Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. Last night in AA, it was only the second time that 2 9-0 teams had met in the Super Bowl. It was Saratoga's high-powered offense that had scored 40 points or more 7 times in 9 games this year. That was what the attention was on, was Toga's offense, but it was Toga's defense that really saved the game. They pitched a shutout in the second half. It was 19-14 Saratoga at halftime, and that's how the game ended, 19-14. The Saratoga's defense was what was able to step up, and they held Shaker 3 or 4 times in that second half as Shaker was driving. Shaker turned the ball over. Saratoga, their first championship since 2009. They'll get a bye to the state Final Four. They'll play in Kingston on November 21st. For as good as Saratoga's defense was, though, the offense, which has been there all season, also very good. Running back Dakota Harvey, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns. He talked about after the game with Channel 13 about the road to this point.
It means a lot. I mean, I've been fighting for this for 4 years now. Fortunately, we come up short my sophomore year. Freshman year, we had a losing season. Transferred my junior year, and I'm so glad I came back.
I think Saratoga is happy that Dakota Harvey came back as well. Saratoga, the Class AA champions, they win that game last night on the field at Shenendehowa. And Saratoga, they finished the regular season in the playoffs here of Section 2 at 10-0. Remember, they were really only challenged 1 time this year. They could have and maybe should have lost to CBA earlier in the season. They come out and they win it 25-24. So they found a way throughout the year to win a close game. They found a way to win it going away. And yesterday, they won the matchup that everybody wanted to see. A great time indeed here. A great weekend, Super Bowl weekend. We've got regional soccer. We're going to talk to Chalmont soccer star Chris Hamilton in 4 minutes here at Capital Region Sports Saturday as the Sabres get ready for their regional final action today on the pitch against Plattsburgh. Tom Herter announced earlier today, Tom Herter Sr., or rather announced earlier last week, that he was stepping out of the Siena broadcast booth after this season. He has been in the broadcast booth for nearly 20 years for Tom Herter Sr. calling Saints games. You remember he played at Siena back in the late 80s, was part of that Siena team that upset Stanford in the NCAA tournament 1988-1989 season. So we know about his sons. We know Kevin Herter, his youngest son at Shen now, a senior, already committed to Maryland. Well, his elder son, Thomas Jr., went to prep school this year. He just committed to Siena last Saturday, so he'll play ball there next year. So Tom Herter Sr. is going to get out of the booth in time to go travel to watch Kevin play and also be able to just enjoy Siena home games without having to be critical of his son or analyze his son or his son's team. And look, I don't have kids, but I do have a younger brother, and it's hard. It's hard to coach those guys. It's hard to coach your family members or people you're so close to. I'm happy for Tom Herter that he doesn't have to watch Siena games and watch his son with a critiquing eye, and he's going to be able to just sit back and enjoy his son's rides through college basketball and not have to do it through the prism of breaking him down from a performance standpoint. He can just sit back and go to the Times Union Center and enjoy those Siena games, in a way that he hasn't been able to in the last 20 years. So that is great for Tom Herter. We're going to ask him what his best memory in the booth was. Almost 20 years. handful of NCAA tournaments, handful of big wins, some big upsets. What's his best memory in the booth? Tom Herter coming in 10 minutes right here on Capital Region Sports Saturday. Brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Soccer regional finals this weekend as well. Colony High School, they're at Colony, they're at Guilderland, they're everywhere. And Chalmont unbeaten in Class B this season. They have just ridden, they've ridden everything. They've dominated throughout the year. Cam Lavallee, Chris Hamilton, who will join us now in 1 minute on Capital Region Sports Saturday. Nearly 100 goals between the two. Chris Hamilton, the 64 goals for him this year, an all-time single-season record in New York State. And Chalmont, they're taking on Plattsburgh today, and you have to think that they're the favorite again. That game, 2 p.m. at Guilderland High School. So the Sabres, they saw their season end the last 2 years. In the sectional final to Ichabod Crane, and they were able to get past the Riders, who fell before them in the sectional final. Were able to get past the Riders, and then were able to win the sectional final against Broadalbin Perth, a game that really didn't look that good in the first half. Remember, we had Jess Kohler on at the Times Union last weekend, and she thought Chalmont would win going away, and they ended up winning going away, but they were down 1-0 at halftime. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. On the phone right now, Chalmont senior soccer star Chris Hamilton. Sabres unbeaten Class B regional final this afternoon, 2 p.m. That game at Guilderland High School. Chris, you're taking on Plattsburgh. What do you know about your opponent going into this game?
We're going to have go into the game with the same approach we've had for the last 21 games. We play our game, and the other team's going to have to adjust to us. So we're pretty confident going into this game.
You guys undefeated in Class B. For you personally, an unbelievable year. 64 goals, the highest goal total for a single season in New York State, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
How have you made that happen? How unbelievable are those numbers to you?
Yeah, the team's done great behind me. We possess the ball. We come through the defense all the way up to me, and I end up being the one that puts it in the back of the net. I knew that in the beginning of the season that Cam Lavallee and myself, we'd be looking for each other, and he's been great. We've been looking for each other a lot this season, and I knew that we'd have 100 goals combined with each other.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Talking with Chalmont senior soccer player Chris Hamilton. Sabres getting ready for the regional final this afternoon against Plattsburgh. Chris, before the regional, you had to get out of Section 2. How important was it? What did it mean for you just to win the sectional title?
Oh, it's amazing. In the beginning of the season this year, we said we're not going to go back to the sectional final game and lose. We were pretty confident this year, going in undefeated, and we just wanted to make sure that we got out of there with the plaque and the white patch this year.
You're actually going to play baseball in college. Most people will wonder, well, why isn't this kid playing soccer? 64 goals. You're going to play at Stony Brook. What was it about Stony Brook that made you want to commit there?
Stony Brook, right when I walked on their campus, it was amazing. Talking to their coaches, it's a great program, and right now I want to make sure that I'm focused on soccer, getting to the state, winning one game at a time. But after the season's over, I'll be getting ready for baseball.
Well, we'll get a chance to go out and watch you in your college career as well. Stony Brook of the America East will play UAlbany numerous times in those next 4 years, so we'll get a chance to keep tabs on you. Chris Hamilton, Chalmont senior soccer player, getting ready. Regional final tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. at Guilderland High School. Everyone go out and support the Sabres as they look to advance to the state Final Four. Chris, good luck. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
2 p.m. today, actually, that game. Chris Hamilton with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday. Best of luck to him and to his teammates in the Sabres as they look to advance to the state Final Four. CC Sabathia. I'd never liked CC Sabathia for a long time. And part of it has to do from his baggy pants to his tilted cap to his great fastball and his devastating slider that constantly beat my team and made the Mariners look bad. I never was a big fan of CC Sabathia. But watching the Good Morning America piece yesterday that he did with his wife at his side and Robin Roberts doing the interview, really, that got to me. CC Sabathia left the Yankees right before their wild card game against Houston, and he entered alcohol rehab. And I am rooting for CC Sabathia wholeheartedly now in his quest to get back as a man, as a player, and as a teammate. And what he really said yesterday that really got to me was this.
That definitely played into my mind, wanting to be there in the long run for my kids and taking control of this thing and trying to live the rest of my life the right way.
He wants to be there for his kids. And the one thing we lose sight of as fans is CC Sabathia, he's not just a player. He's not just a teammate. He's not just a high-priced asset for the New York Yankees. He's not just your favorite pitcher. He's not just your least favorite pitcher because he beats your team. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a son. And I am rooting now for CC Sabathia to get back from this health issue that he has now, this alcohol addiction that he has. And he talked about what really led him to this point. And you hear stories about what it's like to live the big league lifestyle and go out and party, especially as a pitcher. You've got time off. You have the opportunity to go out and drink and do those things. But this was the moment that CC Sabathia was like, you know what? I need help. This is what caused it all.
It was the last day of the season. That weekend I had started drinking and thought nobody was paying attention. And, I was isolated by myself, stayed in my room the whole weekend. I think it was October the 4th. Woke up and just felt like I needed help. It was a tough decision to make because I felt like I was leaving my teammates, but I definitely needed the help to be a better husband, father, teammate, player.
So CC Sabathia was with the Yankees in Baltimore last series of the season, and he said that was the moment that he realized he really needed help. And he said he also in that interview that he knew he was an alcoholic since 2012, and he'd been living with this now for 3 years and battling these demons internally, really without help. So I'm happy that CC Sabathia now is getting the help that he needs to rectify this issue. And by all accounts in that interview, he looked pretty good, looked like he's got everything under control. His wife was at his side. He's got a supportive family. I've never liked CC Sabathia. I am rooting for him now to get his life back on track. And I hope to see him healthy and successful for the 2016 Yankees. I really do. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Class D Super Bowl this afternoon, 1 p.m. at Schuylerville High School. It is Cambridge and Whitehall. Whitehall won the earlier matchup between these two teams 29-14. They're outscoring their opponents 284-60. They've got 2,000 rushing yards as a team, so Whitehall goes in as the favorite. Cambridge has 3 players, though, with 8 touchdowns or more on their roster, so balance and depth is a strength for Cambridge. So 1 p.m., Schuylerville High School is that game. It's Tom Herter stepping aside as a Siena broadcaster. He's been in the booth for almost 20 years. This is his last one. He's seen it all. What's his favorite memory? He joins us next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number 1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. On the phone right now, Siena Saints broadcaster Tom Herter. Tom, it came out last week that after your eldest son Thomas's commitment to Siena, that you're going to step out of the broadcast booth after this season. What went into that decision?
Well, I think it's been something that's kind of been brewing. I think this is about my 20th year, maybe. And just with the boys' schedules and my daughter's schedules, it was just kind of getting to the point where it was more and more difficult to continue. And then with Thomas going to Siena, that kind of just sealed the deal. I would just like to be able to go to those games and enjoy it as a parent and not necessarily as a broadcaster. So that was the biggest reason. Did
you think about how hard it would be to be in a position to have to analyze your son? Was that part of it also?
Yeah, well, I guess I do that every day when we work out, when they practice. But in this regard, I also talk openly about it. But it was more just, going to a game and feeling like I had to work it instead of going to a game and feeling I could just enjoy it and watch him play with his teammates. And that's what I look forward to doing for next year. So Thomas is going to Siena. Kevin, who's a senior at Shen now, is going to Maryland. What's the Herders' travel budget going to look like next year? Are you going to be at every game all over the country? Are you going to make all the regional games for Kevin and then all the Siena home games? What's your travel schedule going to look like? Yeah, I think we're going to have to plot that out with both Megan and Jillian also playing basketball, having practices, having games in Clifton Park. Then we'll balance as much as we can. I would imagine that we would go to more home games for Kevin than we would road games. The closest school would be Rutgers for Kevin, unless they played in New York City. I think they might play in the Barclays Center next year. But and then for Thomas, obviously trying to make every home game and as many possible road games. So either one. I mean, Kevin's games will be a little bit further away, but most of his games will be on the Big Ten Network. Not that that's the same when you're a parent. You'd rather be there in person. So we'll put it this way. We will be in a gymnasium or arena pretty much 7 days a week next winter.
I'm sure you wouldn't have it any other way. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. On the phone, Tom Herter, Sr., Siena Saints broadcaster. And, Tom, we're going to talk to former Siena point guard Tay Fisher later in the show. But I want to ask you, what's been your best memory calling Siena games?
Wow. You know, I think it's I've been doing it for a long time. I mean, Paul Hewitt is the coach who got me involved. My first game was at George Washington in a tournament, the Red Auerbach Classic. I remember that well. I actually wasn't nervous during the game, but then they had me speak to a large group after the game, and they kind of sprung it on me, and I got nervous for that. And I remember it was one of the few times I was actually nervous doing some public speaking because I wasn't prepared. So I guess I've always tried to be prepared when I do the games. And probably the best memories would definitely be the success stories. I mean, the Rob Lanier team that went through the MAC tournament, winning 4 games to get to the NCAAs with a losing record, winning in Ohio in the play-in game, and then actually losing to eventual national champion Maryland. Went to that game. Actually, one of my close friends from Siena, Mike Durand, was on that trip. That was a great trip for me. And then, of course, the Fran McCafferty era, because for me that was kind of special because that's when Thomas and Kevin got involved with being a ball boy, being at all the home games, getting to see firsthand all those great players, guys like Tay Fisher. I mean, we have pictures on Tay Fisher senior night with everyone wearing headbands. So I remember those days fondly just because of Thomas and Kevin's involvement. It's always more special when your family can be involved with what you do. So I would say those are some of the moments I remember the most, not necessarily the long road trips. I seem to somehow always have something going on personally, so I'm never able to make the Buffalo trip. That's kind of a laughing point with Robert Lee and myself. But there's been a lot of great nights coming back from games spent with Robert Lee. I'll miss working with him. He's a true professional. He's great at what he does, and he's a very close friend of mine. So those are some of the things I'll miss.
Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. On the phone, Tom Herter, Sr., Siena broadcaster. And Tom, Siena opens up the season next week at Duke, at Wisconsin. I know you're a basketball junkie, so I'm sure you're excited for the trips out to Cameron Indoor and then on the way up to Madison. So your last season in the booth, we've enjoyed hearing you so far, and almost 20 years in the books, and we'll enjoy hearing you again one last season.
Thank you, Brady. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, Tom. Anytime, obviously. We'll talk to him again as the season goes on. Siena opening up that season next week. Duke and Wisconsin really couldn't open it any better way. Those are the two teams that were in the national championship last year. So Tom Herter, Sr., his last season in the booth for the Saints. We've enjoyed listening to him. And yeah, like we told him, we'll enjoy one last ride. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. On the ice last night, two teams going in different directions, RPI and Union. So RPI sweeps Union last weekend. Bit of an upset. Not many people had that going. People thought RPI would be lucky to get a split at best. They sweep Union. Well, they go on the road yesterday, and they get a tie up north against Clarkson. You'd love to win, but to get a point up on the road in a tough environment, in a hostile barn, a good sign for the Engineers as they continue to move forward. Well, Union goes to St. Lawrence, and they get beat 6-3. RPI, I just said these two teams are going in different directions. RPI started out 1-4. They started out 1-4. They're now 2-0-1 in their last 3 games. They get a point on a long trip yesterday against Clarkson. Now they can come out and try to get a point or a win against St. Lawrence today as the two teams flip-flop. And RPI, Seth Appert, he's got his team playing with a lot of confidence, and there's a method to his madness. RPI has played an incredibly tough schedule before they got into ECAC play. They played a doubleheader in Alaska. They played Michigan. They played number 1 Boston College and beat them. RPI senior Chris Bradley on what this schedule what it did for the Engineers.
Right. I mean, we're playing the best teams in the country, and we believe that we're one of the best teams in the country, and we may not be there right now, but we're making our way there. And we got to, like I said before, trust in our process, and that's a season-long trust that we have.
And they are trusting that process. RPI has bought in. I'm not saying RPI is going to come through with a magical ECAC run and win the whole thing and get to the NCAA tournament. But for a team that has gone down in wins over the last 3 years, they have figured something out here this year over in Troy. And the sweep against Union last week, I think, was a huge momentum builder for this team. When they beat number 1 Boston College, you had to figure out how to bottle up that formula and play that way all the time. And Seth Appert, the head coach, has talked about doing the little things like blocking shots. And his team is willing to do that. When your team is willing to go the extra mile and do those little miserable things that no player wants to do, but when they're willing to do it, that's the sign that a team is growing. And RPI is growing before our eyes. So they get a point yesterday against Clarkson. 2-2 tied. They'll play St. Lawrence today. For Union, it's back to the drawing board. They're now 2-4-3. They've lost 4 straight. They've been outscored 19-8 in those 4 games. 19-8, that's more than 4 goals a game allowed for the Dutchman in hockey. That is a huge number. So Rick Bennett and company searching for answers right now. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number 1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. I'm your host, Brady Farkas. Again, we do this every Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. And something this show has done really well since it's been on the air is we've gone out and we have found our local products, our Section 2 guys that are doing well at the next level. Man, we've talked to Jordan Canzeri, Iowa running back, who's injured right now, but Iowa's unbeaten in playing in the Big Ten, and Canzeri's a major reason why. He's had a game where he's rushed for over 250 yards. He's had a game where he had 4 touchdowns. We went and found him. We went and found Ryan Van Galen, Teddy Van Galen, rather, the quarterback at Utica, the former Shen graduate. We found Corey Acker, who's a running back at Northwestern. We have found those guys. And another one that we found this week is coming on with us in 30 seconds. Former Shen wide receiver, current Robert Morris wide receiver, Kyle Buss. Now, that name should sound familiar. He played at Shen, but he hasn't played football you haven't seen him play since the 2012 season here locally. He went to prep school for a year at Milford Academy. He redshirted for a year at Robert Morris, so he hasn't played. You haven't seen him on the field. He didn't play in 2014. He redshirted. 2013 is at prep school. You haven't seen him play since 2012. Well, the now freshman wide receiver at Robert Morris is having an unbelievable year. And last week, 8 catches, 160 yards for Robert Morris. He wins Northeast Conference Freshman of the Week. Honorable mention nationally for Freshman of the Week in the FCS. FCS is the same division that UAlbany plays in. And he's now got 34 catches, 523 yards on the year. Those 34 catches with 3 games left still on the schedule tie him for the freshman record at Robert Morris. He's ranked 3rd among FCS rookies in receiving yards this season. His 160 yards last week are the most in any game by a Northeast Conference player that wasn't a senior. And it's also the highest by a Northeastern Conference rookie since 2007, at least. Northeast Conference press release isn't quite sure, but at least 2007, that is the highest receiving yard total by a Northeast Conference rookie. So Kyle Buss with us now here on 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com, Capital Region Sports Saturday. Kyle, we haven't seen you play on the field since 2012. We know you're a different player since we last saw you. How are you a different player?
Yeah, just, learning all the little things. The mental part of the game is going to prep school and having the opportunity to redshirt gave me the opportunity to just learn from guys above me and, working on little things that, you see on Saturday, things in high school that you don't really pay attention to. They really focus on those, once you get to the college level and prep level.
What are some of the things? So what are some of those little things that you've learned? Whether it's about film study, whether it's about your mental game, whether it's about a certain technique that or ways to run routes. What are some of the things you focused on to learn?
Film and technique are two of the biggest things that you got to pay attention to once you get to college and decide to go to prep, because everyone's here for a reason. Everyone stood out in high school, and you gotta use this thing to your advantage to succeed on Saturdays, and just little things like seeing how the safety or corner lines up on film, practicing those throughout the week, practicing different moves so you can just try it out immediately, and get ahead of them from the snap of the ball on Saturday. Those are the things that you really gotta attend to during the week.
You've still got time left in this freshman year, a couple games left on the schedule. What's going to be the one thing that you take away from this year, the biggest thing that you've learned in your first full year of college football?
I just, you got to finish strong. Obviously, the season hasn't gone how we'd hoped it to go, but, we've got 3 games left. We have, 2 big games to end the season. We have the opportunity to go knock off some teams and take away the championship hopes. So, we're going to go out there, we're going to play, we're going to play hard, and we're just going to, do what we can and try and end the season strong.
Robert Morris, freshman wide receiver, Shenendehowa graduate Kyle Buss with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Kyle, it's Section 2 football Super Bowl weekend. What do you remember? What are your fondest memories here of playing in Section 2?
Playing in the Super Bowl, I had the opportunity to do that my junior and senior year, and the opportunity to win it once. But, that's something you remember for, it feels like yesterday, and I'm 3 years out. It's something you want to take advantage of, and then having the opportunity to go to Kingston and hopeful opportunity to go to the Carry Zone. That's something you dream of growing up in whatever system.
Kyle Buss, Shenendehowa graduate, Robert Morris, wide receiver, with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Robert Morris taking on East Tennessee State this afternoon. Kyle, Northeast Conference Freshman of the Week last week, 8 catches for 160. Really look forward to seeing what you can do this weekend against East Tennessee State. Thanks for being with us. Good luck.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Kyle Buss, former Shenendehowa wide receiver, current Robert Morris wide receiver, with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. And without Mohawk Honda, this show is impossible. This show strives to be #1, and Mohawk Honda strives to be #1. They strive to be perfect every single day. They try to do things right all the time for their family of customers. They have over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles available to select from. They're open extended hours in all of their departments to better service you. You can shop over 10 acres of savings opportunities or go online 24/7 at MohawkHonda.com. And yes, they will provide you the lowest, no-hassle price to better suit your budget. Their Mohawk Honda Exchange specialist will ask you, or that you can ask them. They'll assist you in upgrading your current vehicle to a newer one with no money down for the same or lower payment. Please ask for Tiffany, Katie, or Vide to see just how easy it is to exchange your vehicle for the same or lower payment. Being #1 isn't easy, but at Mohawk Honda, they treat their customer with respect and have been doing so for almost 100 years. That's 4 generations of the Heritage family serving the Capital Region. Shop their convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the #1 automotive family at Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. Siena gets set to take on Duke in Wisconsin next week. They're not expected to win those games. So what's the mindset of a player heading into a matchup like that? Former Saint and current Harlem Globetrotter Tay Fisher, he joins us next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Yes, we are back right now on the phone. Tay Fisher, former Siena College point guard, current member of the Harlem Globetrotters. You'll know him as Firefly when you watch the Globetrotters play. Tay, first off, I want to ask you about Siena. They open up the season next week. They're playing Duke. They're playing Wisconsin. As an alum who follows the program, how cool is that for you to see?
That's really cool. It's good for the program. It's good for the players. Whenever you can get a school like Siena to schedule big games like that, it's only going to benefit us. They obviously see some great talent with Siena. And when I was there, we played against Stanford and Memphis and, Vanderbilt, Villanova, Ohio State. I mean, we played against some really tough teams as well. So I think it's only going to benefit them, and I'm only wishing them good luck.
Tay, as a player, what's your mentality going into games like this? Siena's not expected to win, but also you don't want to just take away moral victories. Do you have an idea of what you're expecting?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm a different breed. Going into a game like that, I'm always expecting to win the game, especially when people don't expect us to win. You want to go in with that mindset. And I think that's what made us so unique. But once we have it as Siena program, it's never going to leave us. So I know that they have that same mindset. And Coach Paxo is a great coach, and I know that they're going to go in there. And the whole thing about playing tough teams like that, you got to leave with some positives. Even if you lose the game, you got to leave with some positives, whether that's as a team or that's as individual players. And I'm pretty sure that they'll figure out something.
Tay Fisher, former Siena College point guard, current Harlem Globetrotter, with us. Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Tay, Siena re-upped its lease with the Times Union Center. They'll play there through 2020. How important is that for the program?
That's huge. The Times Union Center is where Siena should be playing. I would have loved to play at the Arc if I had the opportunity to at least a game, but TU is where it is. We draw so many people, and that's the right place to be. And a lot of people hate playing there, so I love playing where other opposing teams don't like playing that because they always have to complain about something, whether it's cold in there, whether it's a home court advantage for us when the tournament starts or whatever. But we go out there and do what we have to do, and congrats on Siena with renewing that contract.
UAlbany's been to 3 straight NCAA tournaments. They've won 3 straight America East championships. And some people think that UAlbany is now taking away the foothold that Siena had in the Capital Region. What's your thoughts on that? Are you happy to see UAlbany playing well and representing the Capital Region, or does it have you a little tight?
I wouldn't say it has me upset because, they're representing, like you said, the Capital Region really, really good. UAlbany is a great team. They were a great team when we played as well. We had our nice run where they weren't winning and they weren't representing the Capital Region either. So at this point right now, UAlbany is representing the Capital Region, and Siena just has to step up a little bit and be that team again to take on UAlbany and represent like we used to. So, there's going to be a balance where it's going to be time that it's going to be them, and there's going to be time that it's going to be us. But we just have to figure it out. And when we play against them every year, we have to figure out a way to beat them so we can show people that we deserve to be on top as well.
Tay Fisher, former Siena point guard, current Harlem Globetrotter. Tay, I have to ask this question. How did your game evolve? Did you always play with flair and style and you had to temper it back in organized ball? Or did you always play more organized and methodical, and this flair and passion and style is something you had to learn as you went through and got older?
I don't know. I always played organized basketball, and I always was a competitor, but at the same time, I always had a great personality as well. And I think a lot of people will agree with me, whether it was with my teammates, whether it was on the floor after I dove on the floor for a particular ball, whether I made a three-pointer during a crucial part of the game and went to the crowd and celebrated. I always had that type of personality to me since I was a young kid. So coming with the Harlem Globetrotters really didn't change my mindset in any way. We have a lot of fun, but at the same time, it's really, really hard work. And it's like learning basketball all over again because now you have to learn how to keep the ball on your body and do particular tricks. And you have to compete every single night. I always learned that you have to go out there every single night and compete. But with the Globetrotters, it is every single night. Sometimes it's twice a night, which is a big difference. So I'm having a lot of fun. Been to 53 countries and definitely been a dream come true. And I don't think I should be anywhere better right now than with the Harlem Globetrotters. Growing
up, I used to watch the And One Mixed Tour, and that's where I kind of got into watching flashy basketball, or guys that played with flair and guys that could dribble a certain way or do tricks or whatnot. How different is what you do with the Globetrotters from something like the And One Mixed Tour?
It's real different. Remember, we're the ones that started that. The Harlem Globetrotters, we've been around for 90 years. This is our 90th consecutive season right here. So it's the 90th anniversary, and we're celebrating it this year. And we're coming to the TU Center February 7th on Sunday at 1 p.m., and we're totally different than N1. N1, they're great basketball players, and they do fancy tricks. But people have to remember that Curly Neal, Marcus Haynes, and Bruce Tatum, and Meadowlark Lemon, they're the ones who originally started and took off when it was time to go out there and perform at a high level and show people that basketball is not only competitive, but it's about having fun as well, and we're able to mix it up. So there's a lot of people out there who are similar to what we do, but no one does it better than the Harlem Globetrotters. And I'm a part of the original team who started it. And I'm looking forward to this season and being able to bring some more fun and excitement to the game.
Tay Fisher with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Fisher, former Siena point guard, current Harlem Globetrotter. Globetrotters at the Times Union Center, February 7th. It's a Sunday. I know I'll be in the crowd. So, Tay, thanks for being with us. Best of luck. We know you got a busy season ahead, and we'll see you in February.
No problem, my man. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in February.
We're looking forward to it as well. Tay Fisher, what a great guy. Was part of that Siena team that upset Vanderbilt in the NCAA tournament. I am just fascinated by the fact that he goes from playing college basketball at the highest level, Division I, to now playing at maybe the most fun level of basketball and playing for the Globetrotters. And yeah, I certainly will be in the crowd in February. I'm looking forward to it, to go out there and see Tay and the gang with the Globetrotters. And what a great interview that was here. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Class C Super Bowl. Greenwich routs Hoosick Valley 49-14 yesterday. Greenwich returned the opening kickoff 90 yards, and they never looked back in that 49-14 win. They were up 35-6 at halftime. They get revenge, winning in the Section 2 title after losing to Fonda last year by a score of 27-20. Lucas Whitehouse, after the game, he talked to the Times Union about the win.
We've worked hard all season, worked every day. The everyday mantra was get better, and we showed that we can.
Lucas Whitehouse from Greenwich on the win yesterday. Again, 49-14. They beat Hoosick Valley to get the win. UAlbany men's basketball heading into Kentucky next week. We've talked a lot about Siena opening up at Duke in Wisconsin. Well, the Great Danes are going to Kentucky, and they're preseason #1 in some polls. UAlbany, I don't think they're going to beat Kentucky, but I think that they're going to play a very competitive game with the Wildcats, at least for a while. It might get out of hand at the end when you talk about separating with free throws and stuff, but I think that UAlbany is going to play well against Kentucky, and I think they're going to win the America East again. I think they're going to win the America East in the regular season. I think they're going to win the America East Conference tournament, and I think they're going back. I think they are going back to the NCAA tournament. This team returns 4 of 5 starters. They're senior-laden, and they're experienced. 3 straight NCAA tournaments for a guy like Peter Hooley, who's one of the captains of your team. You reading back, you had junior college transfers that came in last year and were experienced already. Well, now they've got a year at UAlbany under their belt, and they've been to the NCAA tournament in Ray Sanders and Evan Singletary. When you talk about strengths for this UAlbany team, Evan Singletary is the best point guard in the America East. He's a great ball handler. He averaged 13 a game last year, 40% from 3, 80% at the foul line. There is no way for anyone in the America East to stop this kid. No way in the America East for anyone to stop Evan Singletary. He is the best point guard in the conference, and he plays right here at UAlbany. He is one reason why UAlbany is going to win the America East. Number 2, Ray Sanders. Athletically, he is one of the best athletes in the entire conference. He can match up with anybody. When we talk about playing Kentucky, watch where Ray Sanders is on defense, because athletically, he will not be outmatched or outclassed by the Wildcats. When UAlbany played Oklahoma last year in the NCAA tournament, Ray Sanders was one of the guys, along with Singletary, who athletically could match up with the Sooners. He can match up with anybody in this league defensively and shut them down. And offensively, his game really took off at the end of the year. And he's a guy who slashes, can go to the hoop. He's tough. He's fearless going to the lane. And Will Brown can count on him to now give production on both ends of the floor. And the last reason UAlbany's winning it is Will Brown. Will Brown's been to 5 NCAA tournaments, 3 straight championships in the America East. He is a proven winner. Remember, Will Brown was being courted by Fordham and by other higher level Atlantic 10 level schools, and he has been before, and he's staying right here. Will Brown, among the most experienced coaches in America East history, he is the right guy to be on that sideline with this team. UAlbany, they will lose games this season, but they will win the America East. They will win the America East. They will be #1 again, just like Mohawk Honda is, where they strive for perfection every day. If new isn't for you, they inventory over 300 of the highest quality pre-owned vehicles, all at one low, below market value, no hassle price. Okay? Shop their convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the #1 automotive family at Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. Amsterdam taking on Troy in the Class A Super Bowl. What can the Rams do to stop the Flying Horses? Amsterdam head coach Doug Edick joins us next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Class A Super Bowl tonight, 7 p.m. at Shenendehowa. It is Amsterdam and Troy. Amsterdam 6-3. They lost their first 3 games of the year, and they'll look to take down Troy. Amsterdam coach Doug Edick with us right now on the phone. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Coach, you guys took down an unbeaten Burton Hills team last week to get here. Just how did you get to this point where your team goes from 0-3 to playing for the Class A Super Bowl?
Well, the last 5 games, really, things are starting to come together for us. We, just talk to the team about going one game at a time, not worry about who we're playing, and just get better each week in each practice. And they really bought into it. We had 31 guys finishing up this season, and they've really bought into let's just get better as a football team, and we've improved all the way through. And really made some changes on the offensive line, defensive line, and even in the backfield, and it's, paid dividends for us.
Troy took down Queensbury, so together you guys took down 2 of really the traditional powers in Class A. What do you guys need to do to beat a really, really good Flying Horses team?
Oh, we got to tackle. They got a lot of speed, and we got to be able to tackle them, play good defense. We got to control the ball, not turn it over, like we did the first game, and we got to come out ready to play, which we did against Burton Hills, which usually for most of the season, we haven't played well in the first half. But against Burton Hills, we did, and we got to continue to do that in the championship game.
Brian Stanovich, your guys' running back, is approaching 4,000 career yards, looking to break your school's record, has a chance to do it this weekend in the Section 2 Class A Super Bowl. How good is he, and what has he just meant to your program over the last couple of years?
Oh, he's been super kid, great leader, and he works hard in the off-season and in-season. He's a great running back, and he's a threat to catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's played great defense when we needed him to. And really, for 3 years, he's been an unbelievable, outstanding running back for Amsterdam High.
Doug Edick, Amsterdam High School football coach with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Coach, you're about to walk out of the tunnel tonight. What's the last thing you're going to say to your guys?
You know what? I'm going to tell them to play loose and have fun. And that's been our motto the last couple of weeks. Just play loose. It's a game, and we're going to enjoy it and go out and compete.
Doug Edick, Amsterdam High School football coach, getting ready for Troy tonight. That game, 7 p.m. at Shen. Coach, best of luck, and hopefully we're talking to you here after a Section 2 championship.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Coach. Good luck tonight. Section 2 Super Bowl weekend. 2 games last night. Saratoga wins AA. Greenwich wins Class C. We've got Cambridge and Whitehall in Class D today. We've got Amsterdam and Troy in Class A. And the last one on the books, Schuylerville, Glens Falls in Class B. That's a rematch of a game that was really highly anticipated during the year. And Schuylerville ran away with it. I think 35-0 was the score of that game. I was watching that game on television, and Glens Falls had a chance to make some moves right before the first half, but they threw a pick late, and that really cemented the win for Schuylerville. Schuylerville, they're going to come out and run that flex bone offense, that wishbone offense. They're going to run the ball, and try to wear you out. That's what Coach Bowen's MO is over at Schuylerville. So they go into that game as the favorite, but Glens Falls hungry for some revenge. That the Class B final here on Super Bowl weekend. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. UAlbany basketball taking on Kentucky next week, Friday the 13th. And a couple of local players on UAlbany, Greg Steyer, a big man, and Joe Cremo, the Scotia native, who everyone is talking about. When you talk about these local guys this year, they're going to have a big impact at UAlbany. They're going to. Steyer is a sophomore. He saw some good freshman minutes last year, but they need him. They need him this year, and he's going to get a chance to contribute. What he brings to the table is he brings a toughness on the interior, ability to rebound, and ability to play post defense. And UAlbany needs to try to replace Sam Rowley. And they're not going to be able to replace his offensive production with one guy. They're going to have to rotate it through between his brother Mike Rowley, between Richard Peters, and between Greg Steyer. Greg Steyer is going to get an opportunity here to play and to step up. And there's really, Mike Rowley's the guy who's got the lead in that big man race. But between Richard Peters and Greg Steyer to be that number 2 guy, Greg Steyer's got an opportunity to play a lot for UAlbany this season. So UAlbany's going to need him. Joe Cremo from Scotia, he's the guy everyone's talking about. Look, he's done everything. Class A State Player of the Year. He's led Scotia to a state title 2 times in a row. Led him to an undefeated Federation title in his junior year. Now a Division I player, and everybody locally is excited to see what this kid can do. And you don't want to put unfair pressure on him, but I think he's going to force Will Brown to play him early, and that's incredible considering the fact that Peter Hooley, Evan Singletary, and Ray Sanders are the current guards at the UAlbany basketball program. All 3 of them preseason all-conference picks. And Joe Cremo is going to get his way into playing time there in that group. He's going to break through that group and get playing time. It's very, very obvious. Will Brown has said that Joe Cremo is the guy that has impressed him the most, and he's impressed his own teammates, Ray Sanders, on just how hard Cremo works. Who's the hardest worker on UAlbany, Ray Sanders?
Joe Cremo. I can't say it enough. He's in the gym every day, man. I mean, you literally got to go in there and pull him out the gym.
Right, you've literally got to pull Joe Cremo out of the gym. That was Ray Sanders to News Channel 10 earlier in this preseason. So Will Brown gave the story on our station with Armin Levac about how he's had to shut the lights off on Joe Cremo 3 or 4 times. This kid, his work ethic, his drive, they are there. Okay, they are there. Not only is he the hardest worker, but hey, Evan Singletary, you're an all-conference player. Who's in the best shape on the UAlbany team?
To be honest, Cremo. While somebody else huffing and puffing, he's sitting there, telling somebody, get up.
He's sitting there telling everyone else to get up and keep going. Joe Cremo, now we know he's the hardest worker on the team. We know he's surprised Will Brown the most on the team. And Evan Singletary says he is in the best shape. So all of this, to me, looks like a recipe to go through and get some playing time. And if you need one more opinion on it, Zach By, UAlbany broadcaster, his thoughts on Joe Cremo.
Joe can do it all. He can shoot it. He can bring guys in the post. He's got some of the best footwork I've ever seen. He's got the mid-range jump shot down. He's the most competitive kid I've ever been around. This kid is going to flat out be a star.
He's going to be a star right there. If you didn't believe it, you just heard it. He's going to be a star. You had 4 voices. Zach By, you had Will Brown, me telling you what he said. You had Evan Singletary, you had Ray Sanders. And Joe Cremo has now won over everyone in the UAlbany program. Joe Cremo is going to force himself into playing time. I don't know if he's going to start. Okay, you guys are going to wonder that. I don't think he will start. But I think to go out and get 6, 8, 12, 15 minutes a night by the end of the year, I think that's very, very realistic. And we talk about a true freshman who's going into a 3-time America East Conference Championship team. If he can crack that lineup at all, that's a huge accomplishment. I think he's going to go out. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to see significant minutes here as this season goes through. Joe Cremo is going to be a star. Zach By is right. Zach By, the UAlbany broadcaster, is right. Joe Cremo is going to be a star.
This kid is going to flat out be a star.
Exactly. Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number 1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. I'm your host, Brady Farkas. We do this every Saturday, 9 to 10 a.m. Armin and Levac back on Monday, breaking down, now week 9. Week 9 in the NFL season. The Giants got some questions with their defense. Can they address those? The Jets trying to come back from a clunker against Oakland. Ryan Fitzpatrick, how's he going to hold up at quarterback as they take on the Jaguars? It's a must-win for the Jets. Rex and the Bills, they need a win if they want to keep themselves playoff relevant. Armin Levac back on Monday, 3 to 7, breaking down all of that. We'll see you next Saturday, Capital Region Sports Saturday.